All right, welcome guys to Kels and Betsy YouTube channel where we talk about raising private capital and investing with purpose. So whether you are a new real estate investor or an experienced real estate investor, or maybe thinking of buying a business, learning the art of raising private capital is so crucial in today's competitive landscape. Join us as we navigate the complex realm of building relationships, attracting investors, securing funding that fuel your business growth. All right. Welcome, guys, to another episode. Today we have Richard Abreu, a real estate investor. I always mix up his last name.
Yes.
A real estate investor.
Before we begin and introduce our special guest, we want to
We're
just give
jumping
our little disclaimer that the following information is for educational purposes only. We do not provide financial, legal, or professional advice, so please do your own due diligence. You guys, thank you so much. Our channel has been growing and our listeners are growing too. So we're really appreciative for that. You guys, you can always like, share, and subscribe and listen to us on the podcast if you're driving around. That's what I do when I'm driving.
Make it easier. So, guys, like the guest that we have today, he like I always forget that disclaimer thing. But as he said, like seek your own advice. Whatever we're gonna share on this podcast is just our experience, the guest experience as well. Rich is also an agent. He's also a military member. He's also an investor. And we met a couple months ago, and it's crazy. We have this conversation all the time. Like 6 months ago, we don't know. We knew each other, but we had no idea how much we'll be working so closely with each other now and how much we've accomplished in the past couple of months working together. So I'm happy to have him here. We're happy to have him here so he can share his story on
Yeah,
being,
I love that. You could say Rich is a investor and a
yeah, he's
real
like
estate agent and a veteran.
he's everything. So let's welcome Rich to our channel. What's going on?
Hey guys, how's it going? Thank you for having me on. This is it's an honor.
Mhm.
Um, just quickly, I like to put this up front, but one of the things that Kalisha did mention is I am a God-fearing man, so that's probably number one on my list. I am.
Nice.
I don't know. The older we get, the closer we get to our faith, and that's kind of where I'm at. I'm an older, younger man, and I definitely believe in everything that's been presented in front of me.
Oh my God,
I
I
love
love
that.
it. And he's an amazing father and great husband. You
Oh
can't
yeah,
Thank
can I forget those?
want Gabby to like smack you.
yeah. Can't forget about the wife. Yeah, that's an important piece.
You can't forget about that. But no, for persons who don't know, Rich, give us a little bit of your backstory, how you got into real estate, especially having the role of being an agent, being in the military, still active, and still being an investor, doing all these things.
Yeah, well, my journey started in. I kind of give you a condensed version, but I grew up in Jersey City, New Jersey. My mom was had a pretty strong entrepreneurial mindset. I remember from a very young age her liking real estate, but not actually buying any investment properties. But she did own multiple little businesses, and I think that's what sparked it. Eventually, I went into the military. The numbers didn't. We became what we called accidental landlords, right? Where we
Mhm.
would buy a house wherever we lived, and then whenever we moved, we'd rent it out. That's kind of slowly we built a portfolio. We didn't start officially investing in real estate, where I could call myself a real estate investor, until I was stationed in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and that's when we became actual investors in 2019, right before COVID. And just kind of the numbers were great and made sense to me at the time. I mean, houses are 100,000, 60,000. I mean, really low. Whereas other places we were living, I couldn't grasp at that time, my mindset, I couldn't grasp, dang, I got to pay 300, 500, $1 million for a house. So those smaller numbers definitely helped me get into investing.
No, I love it. I love it. And then, so would be like, do you think like having the three different roles, is there any conflict or is there any benefit of being an agent plus also in the military plus an investor? Any benefits with that or any challenges balancing everything?
Yeah, I mean, it's everywhere there's a challenge, there's a balance, right? The life balance on all these things that people talk about, but everything gives its pros and cons. So, for example, being in the military has taught me a lot of SOPs, standard operating procedures, building out processes, how to deal with people. So that's the hardest part is probably dealing with people. Um, it's taught me a lot of discipline as well, military. Being an agent, there's just so many. Look, honestly, when before being an agent, I was like, man, agents don't do anything. Why are these guys getting 6%? It's they do put a lot of work in. You know, there's a lot of back end stuff, a lot of negotiating with the other agents, with the title companies. A good one at least. You know, there's a lot of bad ones too, but that's in everything that you do. There's a bad teachers, bad doctors, right? So a good one should be working for you, and then working hard for that 6% or whatever percentage you guys agreed on.
They do.
And I mean, investing is just like a whole different level. It brings its own challenges. Again, the hardest part in investing is dealing with people. The A through Z in investing is easy. Like steps 1 through 1, 3, 4, 5, whatever. It's easy. It's getting outside behind your, away from your computer, away from the books, away from the podcast, and actually dealing with people. That's where, and I think Kalisha, we talked about this yesterday, that we're no longer at the point where we're technicians. We're business owners, and we're dealing with people, and that's what we got to learn to do way better than what I'm currently doing, at least.
Yeah.
That's very true. What actually got you? I know you mentioned that when you moved to Carolina was a little bit the prices were lower. Was that what really motivated you to become an investor?
That was definitely a piece. I was in Fayetteville / Fort Bragg, North Carolina, the biggest, probably the largest population wise military installation in the U.S. I mean, you got 50,000, just some stats. You got 50,000 soldiers, plus all the support that comes along with that. I mean, you're talking about it's usually 4x whatever the population is. So you're talking about 200,000 people that just support the military. So now you got 250,000 people like that have good jobs, right? Like that are go-getters. And so when I was there, I started going to the meetups, the real estate meetups. I was like, hey, at meetup.com, checking that out, biggerpockets.com, checking that out. I was fortunate enough to, there's a lot of investors in Fayetteville, Fort Bragg, that I had no idea. So when I started talking to all these people and just networking, I'm like, man, this is pretty easy. Not easy, but it's doable. Like the numbers are doable, the techniques are doable. You have so much support. A lot of the investors out there are military, so we could talk. It was easy to talk to each other, and I knew like they weren't shady. So not saying that non-military people are shady, but it's just, we have that camaraderie, that brotherhood, that same goals, the same values most of the time. So that definitely helps. Like, okay, well, I could trust these people a little bit more than non-military.
Have you ever like done any form of like partnerships with these members in any way?
Official partnerships, no, but we do work a lot together. Just as an example, like I was in Fayetteville, so we had out-of-state investors that were military as well. So I would go check on their properties. I would drive for dollars. When I first started, I drove for dollars. That's how I got started driving for. I didn't do any wholesaling, but I drove for dollars for another military wholesaler. And he's like, hey, I'll pay you back. And I'm like, no, dude, I love this. I just want to learn what. And actually he was my first private money lender, because he's like, hey, Rich, thank you so much. He sent me a check, and I'm like, dude, it's completely unnecessary. I like doing this stuff. You're a military person. I'm a military person. I'll help you out. And he's still a private money lender to this day. And it started with, I think it was 30,000, and now he's lending 150 at a time, 150,000.
Tell us about that. Like, did he just I'm just gonna give Rich $30,000, or did you make that intro? You found a deal, and you're like, hey, I'm looking for money. How did that happen?
Yeah, so we got a deal. First of all, one of the things that I never have the money for anything. So I make offers, and I never have the money. I always say I'll figure it out, right? So I don't even need steps 1 through 10. I just need steps 1 through 2.5. Get me through the first couple of steps, and then I'll start figuring it out. So I was in a deal. I made an offer on a property, didn't have the money for it. And I just started reaching out to my network. And I said, well, let me hit this guy up and see if he knows anyone. I didn't even think he was going to lend me the money. I said, hey, look, this is where I'm at. I got this property under contract, and it needs, I forgot at that time, I can't remember the exact numbers, but let's just say 30,000. It needs about 20,000. And I'll always, not always, but I've learned to over borrow. So if I need $20,000 for a project, I usually say, hey, I need 30. That way, there's always things go wrong. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, I'm looking for 30,000. Do you know anyone? And he's like, yeah, dude, I got it. And so it was pretty easy. It was really simple. I didn't even know how to do a private money loan. I was like, let me YouTube this. Let me ask people. And
it's always when you don't know what to do and you just do things. You're like, damn, I was raising money. I was using a private money lender. I had no clue. Like, what did you guys decide on a term, or how you structure it? What do you use, any form of documents when you guys did it?
Yeah, so quickly the terms were, I think at that time, this was a few years ago, don't quote me, but I think the terms back then, it was a 4-month loan, and we agreed on, because in Fayetteville, they're quick flips. They're, literally like a month and you're out, and they sell quick. So it was $30,000. We agreed on 10% for 4 months, flat fee. So he made $3,000 in 4 months. No points. I paid for all the, what we call transactional fees, the wire fee, and there was another fee I had to pay, but I paid it. I paid it. He didn't pay it. So he walked away with $3,000 in his pocket, in earnings. Yeah. And at that point, he didn't know what he was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. So we agreed on a promissory note and a deed of, in the state of North Carolina, it's a deed of trust, not a mortgage. So we agreed on a deed of trust. We even Googled that, like deed of trust, North Carolina. Hey, this one looks good. And but there was a level of trust there too, I again, we're both military members, I trusted him, he trusted me. And if we got the documentation incorrect, I'm okay, I got the documentation incorrect, but what's more important is that relationship that we had.
Yeah. And what I think what you mentioned, you guys were new to it all, and you guys were building it and just doing the research and everything. So I think that made it a little bit easier. It's not that it was like a savvy investor who could just what do you call that? Bully you or anything like that. You guys were learning together. And then even with that, you said that he's still continuing to become being your private money lender. How's that relationship right now? How do you approach it when you have a deal? Walk us through that as well.
Yeah, so back then, 10% flat fee is not too bad, but we definitely I have better numbers now, significantly better. And it's more on now with that particular private money lender, we're on a tiered system, I call it. So essentially, if it's under 4 months, it's 8%. If it's over 4 months but under 6, it bumps up to 9.5%. And then I never borrow over 6 months. So, and then, so we still do the promissory note. I've kept a I got a property here in Florida that he has a mortgage, he has a lien on. And whenever I need money, he just sends it to me. That way we don't even recreate a mortgage anymore. I leave it on there. We have, for that particular lender, that's what we do.
And you just keep updating the promissory note.
Yeah, just the promissory note. We just update the promissory note and we keep the lien. Because I mean, in the state of Florida, it's to record a lien. You know, you got to pay taxes. You got this. It's so expensive in Florida to record a lien. So we're like, hey, just save me the money. I don't mind keeping the lien on the house, even though I paid you out. And he's again, there's a level of trust. We've been working with each other for 2 years, 3 years at this point.
Man, I love that idea. Just the fact that just leaving a lien on a property and then just keep updating the promissory note, that is so smart, especially if they know that, hey, there's a lot of equity in this deal, no matter what. So, and that is smart as well, and to save all those fees. I like that perspective.
So is your main exit strategy, is that fix and flipping?
Yes. We're, with COVID we were primarily buy and hold people, rentals, long-term rentals. COVID shifted that for sure. We saw the immense amount of profit you can make with flips. Yeah, you have the taxes. Yeah, okay, but I'll take my money now. I'll take my profit now. We're still doing rentals, but you got to pivot, right? So right now we're pivoting again, right? So now we're taking some of our rentals, and we sold a lot of our rentals. We did 1031 exchange, or we put it into other deals. So now we don't have as many rentals as we used to. And we're doing more private money lending. We're doing more flipping. We're doing way more partnerships. Just pivoting, getting a little bit more sophisticated than what we were in the past.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I know, like, pivoting now, you're focusing a lot on raising capital. What challenges have you encountered with raising capital? And how did you overcome some of those challenges?
Yeah, there's 3 things you're always doing in real estate investing, in my opinion, at different different levels, focuses, energy levels, you want to call it. So, you're always looking for deals, you're always raising capital, and like you're always looking for contractors. Those are like your 3 big. And if you're not doing flips and rentals, then you probably don't need contractors. Like, let's say if you're only private lending, then you don't need contractors, but you always look for deals. You're always looking for money. So the challenges with raising private money is a lot of people are doing it, which, I usually don't look at competition. I almost never look at competition. It's more about collaboration. Again, relationship building, right? So now it's not so much a challenge anymore because we've pivoted and we've said, hey, there's a lot of other people raising money, but some of them don't have deals. Okay, so you raising money, I got the deals. Let's partner up, right? Again, relationships. This is real estate investing is 90% relationships and managing people. So and we've done this in the past, Kalisha. If Kalisha has.
We did our first deal together. Rich had the deal, and I just found the money.
Yeah, and it worked perfect, and so that's happening a lot more. I have a lot of, whereas before I would be like, hey, I want 100% of the profit. Now I'm in multiple partnerships now where we're making 18, 20% to 50% of the profit with a lot less work. Like before we were working, last year we were working 14, 16-hour days. This year we pivoted again. The November, December, things got tough. We pivoted a little bit and said, hey, let's do more partnerships. Let's do more money raising. Let's do more of this and less of that. Pivot. Yeah. And I got so much time now. I mean, I'm on a I got a lot more time, and I feel way better. My health is way better. And partnerships, that's the answer to almost every single one of my problems, challenges, has been partnerships, reaching out to my network and relationships. That's it. It's people. Again, it's people. It's not even a deal.
How are you trying
what
to?
are you doing?
Oh, go. Go,
We
Betsy.
had the same question. I know it was the same question.
No, we're saying like, how are you finding some of these private money lenders? I know because for some persons who don't know, Rich is in St. Petersburg, which is in Florida. For those who don't know, we tend to go to a lot of meetups. But apart from the meetups, how else are you finding private money lenders?
Meetups is a big one. I kind of stopped. Not that I stopped. I go less to real estate related meetups. And now what I do is I talk to people. That's number one. And I try to go to non-real estate related events now. Just because everyone in the real estate room is in a real estate meetup is usually looking for very similar things: deals, money, contractors.
Yeah.
That's the pillars. So they're looking for the same thing. So I've pivoted and I go to here we got RGA, revenue generating activities. We got BNI, the chambers of commerce are great places to go to. Social media, people in social media are always reaching out. Like they see what I'm doing. They're like, hey, Rich, I want to, I see what you're doing. I want to partner up, and they're not in real estate, a lot of them. So I'd say the majority of our private money lenders right now are not in real estate. Before they used to be, what we would do is, I got a self-directed IRA, and obviously I can't use it. So I would lend it to my investor buddies, and then they can't use theirs. So they lend it to me. So that's kind of one way to do it.
So now I have like two questions. And the first question is, how does it feel how do you operate being on the private money lending side and also the borrower side? That's question one. Question two is, when you find these private money lenders, how do you vet them to know that they're a true private money lender?
Okay. So how do I feel being on the lending and borrowing side? I love one of our, I'm a big believer. There's a book called Traction. Matter of fact, I got it right here. Traction.
Wow.
Great book. I mean, I tried it out.
Rich, I was having a conversation with my accountability partner last night, and he's like, Kalisha, go read Traction. And I have it like in red, read Traction. And now that you brought it up, that is insane.
Yeah, it's a great, so, Gabby's my partner. She's also my spouse, and she's heavy in the business. And we were arguing a lot in the beginning. You got the dynamic that we're married. We also got the dynamic that we're in business together. So we're constantly bumping heads. So we decided to read that book. We've been hearing about it for a while. Our meetings got way better. We figured out the VTO. There's a part called the VTO that you're going to do, Vision Traction Organizer. And that tells you, hey, this is my values, my core values. This is what I want to do. This is my 1-year plan, 3-year plan, 5-year plan. And then it's a little bit more in depth than that. But generally that's what it is. And so it helps us stay focused. And one of the things that we had there in, I think, 5 or 10 years, we wanted to be private money lenders. We want to be on the money side of real estate investing. And so we got there a little bit quicker than I anticipated. Like we got there in like year 2 versus year 5, which is awesome. And I love private money lending a little bit better than probably owning rentals and doing flips myself. Gabby loves the project managing piece of it and HGTV and all that stuff. And I'm like, no, I don't want to deal with contractors. So it's great. It's great. I tell people, don't be afraid to lend your money to people you trust, especially. So does that kind of answer that question? Or
no, that it's funny because we've interviewed guests here who is on the borrowing side and is also on the private money lending side. And most cases, their answers are always, I like being a private money lender than the borrower. And I'm like, of course you would. It's like you're making money without doing much of the work. That's what we sell to people either way as borrowers when they're looking for money. So that definitely answers the question. So the next one would be, how do you vet some of these private money lenders? Because especially when you go to these events, a lot of times when you have these conversations, these persons are not private money lenders. They turned out to be hard money lenders. So how do you really vet that and like start educating these lenders what the process is like and all that stuff?
Yeah, if they say they're private money lenders, usually the debt giveaway what's their process. If they're like, fill out this application, like wire this money, do all this, like, I'm like, wait a minute, this is a relationship thing. Private lending is relationship. It's like, you like me, I like you, let's do business together, and then this is the deal, right? So you got to trust each other, right? I've been saying that. And then the private money lender will look at the deal, look at me, look at the deal, and then be like, okay, I'll lend on this. Okay, private money lender, what would you like? What paperwork do you want? If they start coming out with applications and they're not a private money lender, that's I don't know. Yeah. And so at that point, a lot of private, especially first time private money lenders, they don't understand the process at all. So now you got to educate them. Hey, this is usually what we do. This is how we secure your money, and we go down that. We educate them more so. Some of them already have been doing this, and they're like, I got one guy, for example, here in St. Pete. He's awesome. He's like, all right, Richie, I'll do it. This is my mortgage and this is my promissory note. He's ready, and I look at it over and I'm like, okay, perfect. That's it. Easy. That was easy.
On attorney fees.
Yeah. And then I got a couple of lenders that what we do is we don't, the ones that do want to lien, I ask them, hey, can we do a blind lien, silent lien, so they don't record it with the county and we save on. And that's what I tell them. I'm like, hey, look, I could save on these fees and I could transfer that money to you. So instead of like, let's say 8% interest, I could offer you 9.5% interest because you're saving me money if you don't file it. Right. And they're like, okay, they want more money, so usually. So, and to me, it's better to do a silent blind lien because, well, number one, I'm saving money, right? And number two, some of the because I couple hard money with private money. So the majority, when I do a flip, for example, the majority of my money is coming from hard money, and then I get a percentage from private money. But a lot of hard money lenders don't want to see a second lien, so I'm like, okay, like just send me the money through escrow. We're not circumventing that. It always goes through title. And you just hold on. We'll sign it. I'll notarize it. I'll send you the originals. And they're usually good to go with something like that.
Yeah, that is good. And especially, I love that you touch on the fact that you send the money through title. That is pretty good. A lot of persons I've known persons who've done deals and they send money to the investor. They have no relationship with the investor. And I always say, hey, that's risky. That's very risky unless there's a relationship and you're comfortable with sending the money to the person directly, then by all means go ahead. But if you're just doing business with someone, and a lot of times too, for the borrower as well, it's you kind of take the liability a little bit off you as well. Just put in like having the money go through escrow. And before I wrap up, I know Betsy had a question in terms of that $24,000 that you lost. Tell us about that.
Yeah, tell us about that case, the one where you still paid your investors. I love that. What happened there? What happened? What was the case?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so number one above all, to me, I take care of my capital partners, my private money lenders. You got to pay your guys. I mean, that is number one. Keep it in the reserve. Have money in reserves. Whatever you got to do to pay your guys, your private money lenders, because that's your relationship and reputation, right? So that when you don't like pay someone, it's gonna float around. Like, hey, this dude didn't pay me, right? So you got to pay or come to an agreement or something. Get ahead of problems. Like I knew I was gonna have this problem with this property, and I told my I didn't give him the whole spiel, but we had to extend it a little bit. It was well over 6 months, and I said, hey, this is what we're gonna. And he's like, okay, cool. And I paid him a little bit more. He's happy. He's getting paid. So what had happened with that property is we bought it early 2022, May 2022. It was supposed to be done by September, but again, contractors, right? one of the pillars, it just went over. So we missed the cutoff. We hit October, November, December, where, as we know, the market started tanking a little bit, and it was a difficult property to sell. So it was difficult. We finally got it sold, well below our targeted ARV. Man, I think it was 40, 50,000 below ARV. I can't remember the exact number below. It was significant. I'd have to take a look at the numbers, but I was like, dang it. Okay, that's cool. So we sold it. We finally sold a couple of weeks ago. And at the closing table, you take a look at your settlement statement, it says 24,000, bring to closing. And I said, all right, cool. I got to bring 24,000 to the table, So it happens, but I paid my private money lender. They're happy. It kind of sucks on my part, but that has propelled me to do even more deals. Like, it's not like, oh man, this sucks, I quit, I'm gonna go watch some Netflix now. It's like, all right, cool, I lost money, I got to go do 4 more deals. That's where I'm at now. It's turn the heat back on and let's make some money.
And during that time, like, you were paying, because I know a lot of times deals are structured where if you're late, you pay a late fee per day, blah blah blah. I don't know if you can go in depth with that or not, but just give us a little synopsis. Like, how did you handle that? Because if the loan was due in September and you just sold it, that's maybe like an extra, like, what, 4 or 5 months.
Right.
How did you handle that situation with the lender?
Yeah, so we agreed on a set number. Again, don't quote me because I'm not very good. I suck at details. So I got to go back and look at stuff and read stuff. I'm the big picture, broad picture guy. So I want to say we agreed on, again, I had the conversation and we agreed on like $1,000 or $1,500 extra. This is significant, a loan, $1,500 a month or something like that. So at the end of the day, total of $18,000. That's what I paid him. I paid him his principal plus $18,000. He's happy. I mean, he made a really good return.
Yeah. So it worked out in his favor too.
Absolutely. He's like, hey, Rich, when's the next one? I'm like, oh man, hold on. You just
working on that.
He's like, hold up. But no, and I like that you shared those details, because a lot of persons always think it's beautiful. It's pretty every single side of real estate. And not a lot of persons talk about the bad part of it, things that can go wrong. Even if you put things in place to mitigate a lot of these risks, things just happen beyond your control, and you just got to work with it and adjust it and just figure it out. And communication is super, super important when you have lenders and you are behind on your payment. So a lot of persons tend to disappear when they're behind and go ghost, and now having the lender to foreclose, get an attorney involved and all that stuff. And all you got to do is communicate and work something out with that lender. My last question for you before we wrap up is, what advice would you give to anyone who's looking to raise private capital for their business, even if they're wearing multiple hats as well?
I mean, I go back to the tried and true networking and building relationships. That's where you're going to get, there's other ways to raise money, right? Institutional, industrial / like the professional level. But in the beginning, when you're doing private money getting private money lenders, it's going to be, we're in a mastermind and they say, what is it? Friends, families, and fools, right? Like, those are the 3 F's. That's who's going to be your private money lenders in the beginning. So, I mean, family, you can't get rid of family, right? But continue to build your friend network, your network, going to the meetups, going to different events and letting people know this is what I do, and not necessarily saying, hey, I'm looking for money, but letting people know this is what we do. And we're always looking for X, and not so much telling them, hey, would you like to lend me some money? That never works. Like, asking never works. You just say, hey, I always get these opportunities, and this is kind of like the numbers this is what it looks like. And you got to pique their interest.
Yeah. Just be excited.
No, but this was good. Like, guys, if you need more info, you want to reach out to Rich. His handle is on the screen. But if you're listening, it's at RICH Abreu for ATF, the Boats Task Force. But his
And
handle will also be in the
the
description.
description.
Yeah, I always forget that it's in the description. So, but
Yes.
thank you, Rich, for being on here. You were a great guest. You dropped a ton of knowledge and gems in your business, things that you went through. So we appreciate you for even going in depth about how you're handling some of your losses and walking us through that process. But thank you. And
Yeah.
Betsy, you want to take us out?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Rich. You said so many key things. I wanted to reiterate on that, like networking and building those relationships. We preach about that all the time, and I just love that you brought that to us too. Just telling our viewers, yeah, you guys build those relationships. Um, so if you're looking to finance your next project or expand a new business, we hope that this episode gave you valuable insights and tips so that you can start investing um, and looking for funds. So raising capital and investing with purpose. Thank you guys.